Some people who have been in prison become good citizens later, and it is often argued that these are the best people to talk to teenagers about the dangers of committing a crime. To what extent do you agree or disagree? I completely agree with that statement. Firstly, people who became good after doing illegal acts can describe the psychological and emotional effects of these repercussions. And secondly, how life felt in prison and its side effects afterwards. Those who become those who became good after doing illegal things can describe the psychological and emotional effects of such repercussions. Those who are marked forever due to their actions. Worse action means a worse mental impact for those who accepted their actions and they decided to change. Even though those people are punished, they still feel grief deep inside their hearts. That is why they are the best to talk about those things to teenagers because they feel what nobody could feel if they were never put in jail. For example, if someone mentally sane comes out of 10 years of imprisonment after kidnapping someone, it is sure they will feel bad about it their whole life and they would have time to think about those acts and unfortunately time to suffer from regret and shame. In that case, by talking to the youngsters, they would talk about how hard it is to live with that feeling of shame and regret in a manner no one else could possibly feel. Ex-offenders are the best to talk about how it is being behind bars and afterwards. Those who can describe how hard it is to live there, between the lack of interactions with their family and the loss of social interaction in general. They could also talk about how badly they are treated by the guards and some other prisoners. By contrast, despite the difficulty of living in those places, suffering never ends completely, and some former prisoners will not be able to live freely in a city correctly because they lost their habit of living normally. For instance, if someone who kidnapped those who, like earlier, came to talk to youngsters about how it is in penitentiary, moreover, he would start by describing their experience as hell because of how harshly he was treated. His family could have felt very disappointed in him and could have probably stopped talking to him for those reasons. But when he talks about his experience out of penitentiary cell as to live a normal life, things may appear differently to him. He could have felt bad about gaining freedom again, but because he thinks he doesn't deserve it. In that case, he was living full of regrets. To conclude, this is why persons coming out of jail are the best persons to talk to teenagers about the dangers of committing crimes, because they would appear more legitimate and they could add more details and reasons than those who did not live in a confinement and commit crimes.